Hey, this is Will Knight, and we are in Mexico, and we are doing another podcast. We're at a bed and breakfast. And today, my guest is
Richie Poe.
Richie. How's it going?
Good. It's another beautiful day in Yucatan.
Nice. So tell me, where are we at right now? Tell our audience.
We are in Mérida, Yucatan, the capital of the Yucatan, in my bed and breakfast called Los Colores de Mérida in the center of the city.
Okay. What inspired you to leave the U.S. and open up a bed and breakfast in Mexico?
Well, opening a bed and breakfast has been my dream for most of my life. And ever since I was a kid, I've always been fascinated with the Mexican culture. And so about 9 or 10 years ago, I decided it was time to try to make my dream come true. So I came down here on an exploratory vacation for a couple weeks, driving around the peninsula, looking for a place to live. And I was going to do the same thing around the center of Mexico. But I came to Mérida and I felt really connected here. So I decided this was the place.
That's very inspiring. Why did you feel that? What was your vision for building or getting an Airbnb? Did you have any vision? Did you think about it for a long time?
Bed and breakfast.
Bed and breakfast. I'm sorry. Bed and breakfast.
This is a bed and breakfast.
He works way too hard.
Yes. Airbnb might have better marketing than me, but this is a bed and breakfast. So what was the question again?
Why did you feel like, what was your vision?
Okay. So actually my vision evolved. So my vision, I spent a lot of time thinking about this exact question, like what type of culture I wanted to have within the business, what I wanted my guests to experience, how I wanted to interact with the community around me. So a lot of those things remain the same, but as far as the physical parts of the bed and breakfast and what it would look like, that had definitely evolved. So originally I wanted to open a bed and breakfast in a colonial style home.
Okay.
This is not a colonial style home. This is a 1950s tropical mid-century modern home. So in that sense, my vision changed, but the rest of it really hasn't. Mm-hmm. So my vision changed originally from the physical structure based on what I could afford, what was available, what had enough rooms and bathrooms and things like that to make the bed and breakfast.
Okay.
So that was kind of changed out of necessity. But as far as the heart of what I'm trying to do here, that really hasn't evolved from my original vision.
How did your road trip change that? Like you went from where to where?
So I flew into Cancun and I rented a car and I drove from Cancun to Tulum. And I was in Tulum for 3 nights, and honestly, I thought Tulum was going to be the place I was going to be. So in my head, before I came on this trip, mm-hmm. I planned the trip, and then Tulum was the place I thought would be where I would open Los Colores. And I liked Tulum, but it's not Mexican.
Okay.
It is a very, very little teeny town. It was a very little teeny tiny town at the time. And then a beach coast where resorts were. So it was kind of like, this isn't really very Mexican. It's not really part of my vision.
Yeah.
Then I carried on to Bacalar, which was really beautiful, very Mexican, great culture. And it was just too small. Again, it was, am I going to get enough tourism here to sustain a business? So that was kind of beautiful place. Highly recommend going. It just wasn't a good place for the bed and breakfast. Campeche, I went to Campeche, San Francisco de Campeche, which is the capital of the state. And I went there, beautiful colonial city, very sleepy. Okay. Again, kind of the same thing, like, am I gonna have enough tourism here? And then Mérida was next, and I was actually only here for 2 nights. And I felt really connected, and walking around, I thought, I like this place. And then I went to Rio Lagardos and back to Cancun Rio Lagartos again was really small. Cancun is Cancun, not very Mexican. So I thought, Mérida, I think I'm gonna go back.
Okay.
So I flew back a couple months later, and I stayed for a couple weeks by myself just to see, like, is this somewhere I can be or live? And during that time, it was like, this is it. I feel connected here. I just felt so comfortable, and this was it.
Did you stay at a bed and breakfast when you came back?
Not that time. I wanted to kind of try to feel like I lived here, so I stayed in an Airbnb in a neighborhood outside of the tourist zone, and really wanted to feel like I lived here to see what it would be like. So no, I did in subsequent trips. I took 2 to 3 trips every year after that here, and I did stay in bed and breakfast at different times. I stayed at bed and breakfast around Washington, D.C., in Virginia, and just to see how things operated and learn.
And from there, you formed an action plan?
I formed a big action plan. Really, there were many things. So I wanted to really focus on the culture and like what I wanted my guests to experience in the bed and breakfast. I came down here and I went to a few bed and breakfasts, and I was like, why would people stay here? I mean, they were busy. Yeah. But like, you know, I went to one and it was obvious they went to Costco and bought their breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it was like, it was really, it was in my heart already to be different than a lot of the bed and breakfasts that were here all existing. And so just figuring out the culture and kind of thinking about the details, saving money, working my ass off 7 days a week. I worked at Giant, I worked at all kinds of places part-time, and then kept my full-time job, and just worked as hard as I could, saving all the money I could, writing budgets, you know, practicing food recipes, just everything. I was totally consumed.
Painting, fixing, Mr. Fix-It.
Yes, yes, totally consumed.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because it's all audience. This is my first time in Mérida, Mexico, and it's my first time staying at your bed and breakfast. And it's interesting because you work hard.
Yes.
You're the sole proprietor and cleaner and everything.
Yes.
What time does your schedule start?
I wake up every day at 5 a.m., Monday through Saturday. Sunday I might sleep till 6 or 6:30, but generally I wake up every day at 5. I immediately start working, so I walk around the house as soon as I wake up, making sure, you know, everybody's okay, the guests seem to be okay, that nothing's falling apart.
Right.
And then I grab my laptop and make an Americano, and I go sit in my office, which is the front patio.
Okay.
Look out onto the garden, watch the sun come up, listen to the birds, and pound away at my keyboard.
Until you hear guests opening up their doors.
Yeah, yes. Try to get some work done around the house before the guests start waking up, and then I make breakfast. So my day starts at 5, and I try to get in bed by 9:30, but it's more like 10 or 10:30.
Okay. How did staying at other B&Bs help shape your experience and your culture that you wanted to create?
Well, like I said previously, a lot of times the bed and breakfasts were that I stayed at were aimed at Americans and those types of comforts. So, you know, Costco croissants, you know, an American style breakfast. One bed and breakfast I stayed at was decorated like it was in Thailand. It was just kind of like, okay, it really, why is someone traveling here to stay in a bed and breakfast that serves croissants and scrambled eggs with cheese?
Right.
And so,
I want some culture.
Right. This city's really well known for culture and food, and I wanted to really bring that experience and make it an immersive experience for my guests. But also, it's really important to preserve the culture, like the reason why people come here and the reason why I came here. So, you know, one of the best ways I've learned about trying to preserve and carry that culture on is by bringing it into the bed and breakfast and making it a part of the bed and breakfast. So, working with a local artist and, you know, to find artwork for the bed and breakfast, working with local furniture designers, going to local antique stores to find things that are, you know, antiques that you would find in a house built in 1950s in Mérida. You know, working with the guy that makes the coffee 2 blocks away, and you know, he's Mexican, and trying to make sure that I am incorporating the community as much as I possibly can to create an immersive cultural experience for the guests, but also just to help preserve, you know, the reason why people come here and the lifestyle in the community.
Now, what was your biggest challenge in opening up a bed and breakfast as a foreigner coming into Mexico?
Oh, the list is endless.
Give me a couple top ones.
So this was the last house I offered on.
Oh, okay.
This was the 5th in the last house. It was very hard for me as a foreigner to open a bed and breakfast, to buy a property here.
Okay.
I originally wanted to open the bed and breakfast in 2020, so I started looking at houses in 2019, and I intended to come back in March to start offering on houses.
Okay.
And then the pandemic happened, so that changed everything. But this was the 5th house that I attempted to buy, and it took 11 months for us to close on the house.
Wow.
So buying the property was one of the most challenging aspects of opening the bed and breakfast. After that, I think just cultural things.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, getting taxes put together, you know, like understanding how I needed to pay taxes, things like that. But I would say probably the biggest challenge was actually buying the property. There were a few times where I thought maybe my dream wasn't going to come true.
Interesting. Okay. So, language.
Yes.
You speak Spanish.
I would say intermediate at best right now.
But you're taking classes, though, aren't you?
Yeah, I do take classes. So before I left the United States, you know, it was one of the things I did to prepare, which was study Spanish. Mm-hmm. So I did that, but then, you know, you're not immersed in a culture where people are speaking Spanish all the time. So
true. That is so true.
I went through all the tests and I passed everything and I advanced and I did all of it and I did well, but then I never used it. And so coming here, it was a good foundation for me. But I do take classes now. I don't have a lot of free time, so I usually only take classes for about 2 hours a week to help me. But also, Yucatecan Spanish is very different from Spanish in other parts of Mexico or anywhere else in the world. So I do learn a lot from the people around me. Most people in my neighborhood don't speak English, and I want to be friends with everyone in my community. So I struggle with communication, but they also help me a lot to learn this specific type of Spanish that's used in this area. So it's constantly learning in real life, but as far as actually studying, I get about 2 hours in a week.
Okay. What does the typical day look like in a bed and breakfast, and how is it ran?
So like I said, I wake up at 5. I usually do some admin work while I have my coffee in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then I try to get some things done around the house that, like some cleaning done or the pool, laundry, things like that I try to do before the guests wake up. Then I try to get my shower in before I start cooking breakfast. I cook breakfast. Breakfast is 4-course meal cooked every day. So that takes some time, so I'll cook breakfast. Serving breakfast usually lasts about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on
how much coffee you have to make for guests.
How much coffee I have to make. Or, you know, how well people are getting along, you know, things like that. Serving breakfast is definitely the best part of my day. It is my favorite part of my day. I interact a lot with the guests at breakfast, but just being in the kitchen and hearing people talk really brings me a lot of joy. It really brings me a lot of joy to see people from different parts of the world interact with each other. That's my favorite part of the day.
And that's your time to interact with your guests.
Yes, that's my best time to interact with guests. After that, it just depends on the day. So I might need to go to the mercado to get the produce and meats for the next few days. I might have Pilates clients. I have a lot of social media marketing that has to be done. So I might be creating content or posting on social media. Then in the afternoon, I might do some more work on the computer. And then, in the evening time, start preparing for the next day. Try to get a workout in before bed. Almost every night I have some type of food preparation to do for the next morning. So my days are very, very full of just all kinds of different things.
So tell me about Pilates.
So when I was in DC, I worked for a gym, and the reason I started working for the gym was I was really inspired by helping people and fitness and what fitness could do for people. As I worked there over the years, I kind of lost that inspiration a little bit because I was now in a management role, and you're kind of pulled away from. I was pulled away from what originally inspired me to become part of that business. So I decided to do Pilates certification to try to get back to the core reason why I went into that industry. And also because I knew that this was going to happen, the bed and breakfast was going to happen one day, and I would need to maybe supplement my income for a period of time until the bed and breakfast became successful. So it really worked in two ways. And so now here, I carry about 8 Pilates clients, private Pilates clients, and I also teach a group Pilates class in the community library.
Okay.
And it helps, it keeps me connected to one of my passions,
right?
Which is really helping people improve their lives through fitness. And also, it helps me supplement my income while I'm getting the bed and breakfast going.
Yeah. So tell people about your bed and breakfast. How many rooms is it? I know you mentioned a swimming pool.
Yes. Yeah. There's a pool. So I'm really lucky. I found a great place. There's large tropical gardens in the front and the back of the house. There's still very much a work in progress. There's a great pool in the back. Lots of outdoor space. Most of my guests spend a lot of their time outside when they're here at the bed and breakfast. Inside, I have a formal type living room with a dining room and a kitchen. My Pilates studio is also on the ground floor. And then there's 5 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. So I live in 1 bedroom, and then there's 4 guest rooms with bathrooms attached. And then upstairs, I have a huge balcony that runs across the front of the house that has yet to see my vision. But one day I will convert that into my vision. There's a nice family room upstairs. That's pretty much the bed and breakfast. It's very big. Sometimes, if I'm particularly tired that day, it gets exhausting walking back and forth around the house. Like, oh, God, I have to walk to the front of the house.
You're getting your steps in.
Yeah, I definitely get my steps in. There's also a nice interior garden that I'm actually going to start working on.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Start working on the interior garden here probably in another couple months right before rainy season starts.
Okay.
It'll be there's a number of native orchids here and bromeliads. So I'm intending to turn the interior garden into an orchid and bromeliad garden.
Right. So the other day you were explaining meteor showers.
Yes.
And which was interesting. Then I started to look online and I found this big watering hole or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, yeah. So there's not a lot of light pollution here, and also just because of where we are situated in the world, you can see beautiful sky at night. It's stunning. to see the stars, and you can see planets and the space station, and there are often meteor showers that you can see, and these things are very visible. I had a guest stay here last January, and she was outside in the backyard a lot at night. And I'm constantly working, so one night I had some free time, so I took a glass of wine and I went out there and sat with her. And she's staring up at the sky, and I'm like, "What are you looking at?" And she's like, "There's Jupiter," and she's like pointing these things out to me, and I'm like looking up, and I'm like, I've never noticed. I had lived here for 6 months.
Yeah.
I never ever noticed. That guest taught me something really valuable that I still try to carry now. It's been a year since she was here. And that was really take some time to feel what I've achieved, but also just to look around.
Yeah.
It took me 6 months to be able to look up at the sky and just see how beautiful it was. And so she taught me a lot, but the sky here is really beautiful. So I try to go out there once a night.
I was actually surprised. We seen the moon, which is interesting because the moon was half. It was a half a moon, but it was the bottom half.
Oh, yes.
And then a couple of my friends or guests here that are now friends went to the watering, I want to say watering hole, but it's where the crater was, the meteor shower was. And I guess they built stairs and you could jump on it or jump into it.
Oh, they went to cenotes.
Yes.
So the meteor that killed the dinosaurs hit here. So we're kind of on the ridge. And then, the peninsula is lime, and then below is the water table, fresh water table. So some of the lime just collapses into the water to create cenotes, but a lot of the cenotes were actually created when the meteor hit. So the cenotes are really magical for a lot of people, and great places to go for, if you're just in the middle of the summer when it's super hot. But they're really magical for people. But yeah, it's interesting that, the more I learn about this area, just like the Mayan civilizations and the fact that, the meteor that killed the dinosaurs, such a huge event in the history of natural Earth, happened here. Sometimes I wonder if maybe those are the things that drew me here, those types of energies.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap this up, but we got one more question, then we got a lightning round question.
Okay.
So what would you do differently if you had to start this project all over again?
Not much. I'm not saying that I did anything perfectly at all. I think that probably the biggest thing, closing on the house was really a long process, longer than I anticipated. And I quit my job. Originally, I wanted to give myself a month kind of a break before I moved here. So I quit my job in April, I think, of 2024. But I didn't actually end up moving here until September 5th. And I didn't close on the house until September 10th.
Okay.
And it was really delayed. It kept being delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. And I think maybe the number one thing I would have done differently is worked longer to have more money, more of a safety net.
Okay.
All my life savings is in this project. And so maybe had worked a little bit longer. If I would have known, I didn't know. I also moved out of my apartment and moved in with one of my best friends, and I'd only intended to be there for a few weeks, and I ended up being there for 5 months. So I think that time period, maybe I would have worked longer, but I was being advised by people here, and so I made choices based on that advice.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I could have actually done it better or made a better choice.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if I would have just known, then I would have worked longer.
Okay. All right, so here's a lightning round question.
Okay.
Biggest customer mistake to avoid?
Oh, letting people know that you have a laundry machine.
Most overlooked part of guest services?
Oh, this is hard. Most overlooked part of guest services. Oh my God, I don't know how to answer this in a lightning speed. I think the different types of cultures that I experience has been something I overlooked.
Okay.
Trying to adapt to different people's culture on the fly.
All right. What surprised you most about your guests?
How they interact with each other. I am shocked at the number of people who speak different languages who still cackle and laugh and communicate at the breakfast table. It is really surprising.
What do guests remember the most?
How they felt here.
Hardest part of guest service is daily.
I live here, so there are times when I don't want to talk to anybody. There are times when I'm not feeling well, or maybe I have a hangover, or I just don't feel like working that day, but I have to. And it's like I'm constantly on a stage.
One service habit you never skip.
Asking people how their night rest was.
Okay, last one. 3 words for your style and your service.
I think that the style of service I try to provide is that this is your home and the people that are in it are part of your friends and family, whether or not you know them or not. And I want everyone to feel as comfortable and part of this house while they're here as they would in their own home.
And where can people contact you, find you to book a room?
Okay.
And taste your coffee and your great breakfast because you are a good chef.
Oh, thank you very much. I have a website. It's www.loscoloresdemerida.com. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, Los Colores de Mérida.
All right. And that wraps it up for All About Nothing. Thank you very much and see you guys next week.
Thank you.